Hello everybody, this is Stonewall, and today we're watching a replay of mine in the IKV-72, which is the brand new Swedish Tier 3 tank destroyer. I wound up getting this thing mostly with free XP because the Tier 2 was very frustrating to use, and as you can see, these guys over here in that one. It's really painful to use. So, this is on mines, and I'm kind of pushing up towards the middle here. So this is in first person mode, and as you can see, there are a lot of the Swedish tanks in here. So the guy right next to me is also in the same tank. So I look and realize that our T2 Light is the only one that went on this side of the hill, and decided that he probably needs some support over there. He's got a Panzer II coming up, and at that tier they're really hard to penetrate for most of the other guys on their tier. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure the T2 Light has an autoloader. There we go, he does some damage. But he keeps backing into my line of sight there. I put one in him, and our T-127 from on top of the hill put one in him. There's our T2 putting some in their LKV-72. And he's down before I can really get line of sight. So at this point I'm trying to figure out if I need to push around and try to come up behind the guys that went to the hill. But I know there's probably going to be some tank destroyers like that guy right there down, still sitting near their base watching that area. So to circle those guys I would have had to give my side and back to the guys at the base. So I decided to pull back around to this side of the hill because we're not doing very good here. Now our T-127 over there, Crollo 360, is actually doing some pretty good work. The T-127 has some pretty well angled armor on it. And now it's a 7-7 match, so we're evened out. And our T-127's down. Valentine AT put a round into him and set him on fire for the finish. Now that's the Tier 2 Swedish tank destroyer. And he's down. So our T2 Light is actually still in play and doing some pretty good work against that Valentine AT. There's their artillery, and I should have led that a little bit more, but as you can see in the top left corner, I had about a 230 millisecond ping. It was pretty bad. So he decided to sit still out in the open, and there's the finish. So it's a 9 versus 11, so we're 2 down. Not horrible. Could definitely be much worse. So their M2 Light is behind me at this point, taking on our artillery back over there. But I'm taking on the Valentine in front. And there we go, penetrated the front. Now the thing about the Valentine is he's got about, I'm wanting to think it's 60 millimeters of armor on basically all sides. So here I decided to pull back. I think that might have been their artillery, their Su-18. I decided to pull back and try to figure out where that M2 light went. And I kind of figure he's going to circle that rock, so this is kind of, yeah. And he's down. So, looking at it, there's one light tank which has not been spotted, and there are 2 tank destroyers, only one of which has been spotted, and their artillery. So the artillery is pretty much guaranteed to be sitting in that corner unless they're one of the last ones left. Generally, if you're down to 2 or 3, they might try to push towards the cap. So at this point, I don't want to get too aggressive because I know those other tank destroyers can do a lot of damage to me. So my L60 is pushing up a little bit. BT7 is still back at the base. I think he's going to try to defend some back there. Can't remember, he might come up and help me here. So it looks like they're pretty much staying in their base right now. And most of this game is pretty conservative gameplay. I'm not rushing around much. Trying to pick my shots and stay kind of back, just like you would really want to play with most tank destroyers. Because I know if I get flanked, I can't really turn very fast. Alright, so there is their tier 2. Engaging with our BT7. And one shot left him on 12 hit points. And that's kind of frustrating whenever it does it like that. So here's kind of a waiting game. So it's 3v3. Oh, and there's their M38. As you can see, I was lagging a little bit with a 200 millisecond ping. My ping most of the time whenever it's good is around 30 milliseconds. So right now it's really bad. And I will say this type of gameplay is not for everybody. It's kind of slow, but whenever you're in the moment it is very tense. Because winning and losing is basically on you. Our BT7 took a hit. He's down to 53 hit points. I don't have line of sight. And I'm trying to figure out why that other tank destroyer is sitting behind the rock. And maybe he's got line of sight on my teammates. And is not wanting to expose himself to the hill. So it's just me and the L60 left. L60 took a hit. Possibly from their light tank, maybe from the artillery, I'm not sure. And at this point I know I've got to push up, and it's me versus 3 other tanks. So I know their tank destroyer was back in there. Well, actually this is where their light tank was sitting, back there. And further to the left was where their tank destroyer was. So I know I'm only on 74 hit points, so especially the enemy tank destroyer would probably one-shot me, and the artillery probably would, because as you can see, this is an open top tank. He can do full damage easily. He doesn't have to worry about penetrating my armor with HE. And the light tank, I'm not sure his fire rate and penetration and anything like that, but he could probably take me out. So I'm trying to hold back, and at some point I'm like, you know what, they're just waiting on me, I'm gonna run in, but I don't want to run straight in. So I'm going to try to come around the back so it's harder for their artillery to shoot at me, and it's less of what they're going to be expecting, hopefully. So I'm not sure where the light tank is at this point in the game. So I'm pushing along here. And, oh, there's the tank destroyer. And he is on his side. So there's a free kill. So the game probably could have gone the other way if he had not rolled on his side there. He was probably trying to get up behind the rock and laid himself over. Now I've got to be careful because the artillery is still in play and they can shotgun you, and there he is. He missed. I get the shot on him. So at this point I'm waiting on the light tank to show up. So I'm going to try to get in some cover and sit on the cap here, kind of behind their stuff. And now I know where the enemy light tank is. So the deal with capturing the base is you get about 5 to 10 seconds after the first team captures for the other team to capture, and it would end in a draw. But the problem is he started about 17 seconds after I did, which means there's no way he's going to get the capture in time for it to be a draw. His best bet, if he's fast enough, would be to come back and try to reset the cap, but he doesn't try to. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the game while we wait on this capture, and I'll show you the post game here in a minute. So 734 damage in a tier 3 match is really good, when most tanks have less than 200 hit points. And this was actually my first match in this tank destroyer, so I wasn't quite stock. I had spent some free XP to upgrade maybe my tracks and gun, I think. So I wasn't running, basically the worst possible setup, and I wasn't running it fully upgraded either. So there's the end of the match, and here's the post game. So I got a invader medal, and this is what you get for getting, I think it's 80 capture points, and I got 100 on the enemy base, and a top gun. This means you get a top gun medal when you get 6 kills on enemy tanks. I also got a mastery badge first class, which is pretty good, and 1470 XP first victory of the day. So it was definitely enough to be able to research the engine and the radio, and put me pretty close on the next tank. It'll be a couple battles after that. So here it is, top damage. Our T-127 that was out there in the middle by himself for a little bit, he was second and did pretty solid, 4 kills there. The top damage for the enemy team was their artillery with 373 and had 2 kills. So the last thing we're going to look at here is I cleared a little bit over 9,000 credits. You don't make as much on the front end in these low tier matches, but it doesn't cost near as much for ammunition and repair of vehicles. Alright, so thought I'd share this gameplay. It was my first one in that tank, and I felt pretty good about it. So anyways, this is Stonewall signing off. I'll see you in another video.